Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be reviewing 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, which is the second part to well, really the fourth part to this film franchise, but the second part to the 28 Years Later series, which I guess is going to continue. I'm super excited to see that the third and fourth film had already been greenlit before the second movie even came out. And the storyline just continues right from where we left off in the first movie with Jimmy, the kid from the very beginning of the first movie, where his dad is in the church and his dad gets killed by the infected. And then at the very end of the movie, we see an appearance from him and his group that he has kind of, I guess, been running with for quite some time and seems to be kind of like the leader of this group called the Jimmies. So his real name is actually Sir Jimmy Crystal. So I'm not sure whether he gave himself like the surname or not. Now, obviously, I think he kind of did because being that he was a kid when this, virus took over, it kind of does make sense that he kind of gave himself the name because usually Sir is for somebody who's been knighted, right? And he's not all there completely, obviously. I would say that he had a pretty rough childhood, seeing as his father was definitely kind of like leading the infected, it almost seemed, or in a sense, like from the first movie, I remember his father being like trying to say that this was supposed to be happening or something, like it was, yeah. And then his dad was just a really weird character, so it makes sense that he would be kind of messed up from obviously all of that as a child and having to grow up in a world where there weren't really many other humans. So I guess you kind of have to like develop a certain type of strength in order to survive in this type of world. Like we see that even in the first like 28 years later, that all these small towns and communities kind of growing up everywhere or popping up everywhere, and nobody really goes from place to place. You just stay where you are and go and do this hunt sort of thing. So that was kind of a theme, I guess, in this one too, where it showed certain groups of people were going out and hunting and forging and so on and so forth. Like that was a theme in this movie as well. But also, this was more about Dr. Kelson's story, I would say, and obviously the Jimmies to show that there was more than just the infected that were obviously dangerous in a world like this, because in a post-apocalyptic world, there pretty much is no law, right? Like you kind of go by your own code, and you can either be a moral, sympathetic human like Dr. Kelson, or you can be a complete psychopath and lead an army and um, just kind of take whatever you want and kill whoever you want and torture. And there was just a bunch of stuff that the Jimmies did that it was kind of obvious from the first film, from the first 20 years later film, that they were going to be doing this again. So just in case, I think, yeah. So it was pretty obvious that this was going to be the theme of the Jimmies, is that they were going to try to take over everything that they possibly could. And if he could have, he would have raised an army, right? Like that was his end goal with this whole old Nick talk, that like somebody, some higher power was speaking to him. And at the very end of the movie, you find out that he's a Satanist, which didn't really surprise me at all. Was that that was who he was worshiping, right? Just based on all of the things that he was doing. So it kind of made sense. And of course, this old Nick character that speaks to him or whatever, that tells him what to do, and the whole fighting to the death thing so that Spike can take one of the Jimmy's spots in the very beginning of the movie just kind of goes to show you what kind of a person he is. And he never gets his hands dirty himself. So that was my kind of thing. I'm like, is he holding back his strength, or is he really just truly weak and he needs people to do his bidding for him so that he doesn't ever have to get his hands dirty, sort of thing, like he thinks that he's some sort of higher power, which he did. It showed at the very end of the film. But um yeah, this was definitely a more like a different storyline. And the one thing I would say that really kind of bothered me was that Spike's father never comes and searches for him. I was like, okay, so where's Spike's dad? Like Spike's dad is back in the town, obviously, but why would he just stay there and never come search for his son? It kind of seems weird, even though his son left with the mother. I don't think he ever like followed them at all either. He just kind of left it to fate, which is crazy because I would be like, okay, my son and my wife are now gone. My wife is sick, and I haven't been able to tell my son why. And then she ends up passing away in the first movie, and then Spike kind of gets involved with these Jimmy characters, and you can clearly tell that Spike is not enjoying any of the time that he's having to spend with them. But it feels like I feel like maybe he was kind of thinking that that was like his only way of survival, because clearly I don't think he would have probably done very well on his own. Although he did do pretty good in the first movie with being alone for the most part, um, surviving. So I have to say maybe he could have held his own, but I don't think. I think he kind of folded a little bit at the end of the second movie because this was a group of people that he had no idea what they were capable of, and they were obviously a little bit older and bigger and stronger than he was, so he wasn't going to be able to take on seven people, obviously, but he could probably, kind of um, strategically take them out one by one. That would have been my thought on maybe what to do there, but eventually he just ends up trying to leave, and there's only one of them that truly kind of like connects with him throughout the entire movie, and it was kind of interesting to see because now the two of them are together at the end of the movie, and we'll see where that storyline goes because the third film is in production now, so they're obviously going to bring back a lot of these characters, and it would be cool to see what exactly happens to Mr. Sir Jamie Crystal, because at the end of the movie he's hanging upside down in a cross, and one of the infected comes and attacks him. But so is he going to return as an infected, and would he be considered like an alpha? I don't know. I'm just interested to see exactly where this film goes. So I guess we'll go over the cast list and obviously my rating, which was 9 out of 10. Uh, so just slightly better than the first one, I guess, but also the first film that hasn't been directed by Danny Boyle. So I didn't even know that actually going into the film. I thought it was still the same director, but Alex Garland is still the writer, so you can definitely tell that um, that the way the story is told is still very much the same, but the directing style was a little bit different. It kind of felt like a little bit more intimate, if that makes any sense. Like it was kind of showing the connection between the infected and Dr. Kelson, and him trying to like humanize the infected, because we're not really sure exactly if the infection can be cured, because it's not like a zombie like virus. It's just called the rage virus. So I'm assuming, like, in a sense, kind of from the first film, I got the feeling that, like, if you were susceptible to anger really easily or kind of like flew off the handle, you were more susceptible to the virus sort of thing. Um, Now, obviously, it gives you like the, I guess, typical kind of like taste for human flesh and stuff, but um, I suppose in a sense they're just trying to survive the same as anything else, right? Like they're just eating what they can, and I guess somehow, some way, humans give them the give them the most benefit food wise. I'm not really sure. It seems kind of weird because it's like they're zombie like, but in this movie we find out that the virus is actually totally reversible. So it was very interesting to see that take place. Now, Dr. Kelson has the darts that he uses on them, and morphine was the number one thing that's like slowed the infected down, and it could definitely, if it was strong enough to take out an alpha, like it was probably strong enough to actually kill one of the normal infected, which is kind of crazy to think about because I don't think we ever see him use it on just a normal infected, do we? I can't remember. I might have to go back and watch the first 28 Years Later movie to remember if he actually does use it on that or not. And this whole Bone Temple thing was is really cool. The fact that he's just built it over these years to respect the dead, no matter whether they had become infected or whether they had just died from the infected. Like he kind of just goes around and cleans up the land. So he's kind of like he's a doctor, but he's also kind of like a preserver in a sense, and just a very calm person. And uh, obviously, he knows his ways around medicine, like he studied it for years. So he can almost cure anything. Now, of course, in the first movie, he obviously could cure the mother's cancer, which is unfortunate. But he just didn't have the I guess he just didn't have the supplies or the right type of medicine in order to do it, or I think the cancer was just too far along, um, which is unfortunate for Spike because he had gone all that way right to try to help his mother, only to find out that she was going to die anyway, and she already knew that, but yeah, it was just kind of an unfortunate situation for Spike in the first movie, and a seriously unfortunate situation for him in this movie because uh, when this hunting group comes back and they ended up losing one of their guys, they end up getting strung up by the Jimmies, and I think a couple of them die, and then the whole scene just kind of turns into chaos when the one guy decides to use the whole propane tank as a flamethrower. I was like, oh my god, dude, what is happening? Like, just it was that scene was just absolutely insane to watch, and it was one of the longer scenes in the movie. So it definitely showed you just how psychotic all of those guys and gals were. So I guess we'll go over the casting list because we should. So Jack O'Connell, who played Sir Jimmy Crystal, who was the leader of the Jimmies. Elfie Williams, who played Spike. Connor Newall, who played Jimmy Shite. Aaron Kellerman, who played Jimmy Inc. Myra Bird, who played Jimmy Jones. Ghazi Al Rufai, who played Jimmy Snake. Robert Rhodes, who played Jimmy. Emma Laird, who played Jemina. Sam Locke, who played Jimmy Fox. Chi Lewis Perry, who played... Is it Chi Lewis Perry? I guess that's what I have written down, I believe. Who played Dr. Kelson. And then, of course, at the very end of the movie, we finally get it. The confirmation. I think a lot of, like, the bigger fans probably knew that Jim was coming back. But, yes, Cillian Murphy, who plays Jim, is going to come back. And I'm not really sure who the girl is. I don't remember her from any of the other movies. But Mia Eastman, who plays Sam, it looks like it's his daughter, but, like, there's no... See, it's been a while since I've watched, like, the 28 Days and 28 Years Later movie, so I can't remember exactly who she's supposed to be, the girl. But she obviously plays some sort of significance, otherwise she wouldn't be there, right? But him coming back, like, I was, like, in my seat, and I just went, yes, in the theater, because I was just so pumped that he was going to be back, and he hasn't been there since the first movie. And I know there was a lot of speculation about the one zombie from the trailer of the first movie. Like, they're like, oh my god, that's him. He's been zombified. And I think they kind of made it look like him a lot to kind of throw you off the trail of him returning. Or maybe that was like a slight sort of like, supposed to be like an Easter egg thing. Like, we're going to make it look like Jim so that it throws people off. But I think in the trailer it looked more like him than it did in the actual movie, if I'm remembering correctly. I was like, okay, that's not actually him. Um, but anyway, yeah, it was just so cool to see. Did I not write down? Oh my god, where is... I thought I wrote down... who played... Did I not write down Samson? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I thought I did. I can't believe I didn't write down the guy who played Samson. Oh, I messed up. It was Chi Lewis Perry who played Samson, and then I forgot to write down who actually played Dr. Kelson. Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. Uh, God, maybe I can look it up somewhere else. Um, Unfortunately, I can't. I don't think. Yeah, I'm not sure what that did, but anyway, yeah, that's unfortunate that I wrote down. Why did I do that? I don't know how I screwed that up. Anyway, now I'm trying to think of who actually played Dr. Kelson because it was, I believe it was Chi Lewis Perry who played. Samson, but it wasn't. Oh my god, that actually makes me mad now, because I'm 15 minutes, 16 minutes into this review, and now I've messed up the names. Oh my god. Anyway, I guess it's not super important, but yeah, Chi Lewis Perry was the one who played Samson, right? And then Dr. Kelson was. Forgive me for not writing down the actor's name, and now I can't think of it for the life of me. But anyway, it's probably going to bug me, but it is what it is. So anyway, yeah. So it was Chi Lewis Perry who played Samson, and then I don't know why I wrote down Chi Lewis Perry, and then I just wrote down Dr. Kelson. That's so weird. Like, I don't know how I messed that up. But anyhow, what was I talking about just before that? So yeah, the connection between, um, or actually seeing how, Samson was able to become human again. Now, the scene on the train was absolutely insane. Like, he goes onto the train, sits down, and then has the flashback of him on the train saying that he doesn't have a ticket. And then all of a sudden, all the infected are right there, and he has to fight his way back out. Now, he does get hit with the blood of the infected, and he doesn't get infected again. So I was like, did Dr. Kelson just make Samson completely immune to the virus? That seems kind of insane. Um, Now, I'm not really sure whether he's just, like he's slowly becoming human again throughout the movie, and like he's just, like he's not angry anymore. Is that what it's like? Like he's finally found peace, sort of thing. It was interesting to me. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Iron Maiden scene at the very end of the movie where the last of the Jimmies enter, and at this point, Dr. Kelson has pretty much totally like decided that he's going to embody Satan. And then when he realizes that Spike is with the group, he decides that he needs one more thing from the Jimmies, and that's a sacrifice. And of course, he obviously wants to sacrifice the leader because then it will kind of cause chaos. And of course, the last few Jimmies are all, they're like ready to kill him, right? Like they've all been waiting to kill Jimmy, like Sir Jimmy Crystal, this entire movie. You can kind of tell. Now, obviously, they're going to do his bidding because, they're surviving. But when they find out they don't need him anymore and the group's sort of falling apart, it becomes a little more obvious that, he doesn't actually have that much power, even though he thought he did. And then, of course, he gets killed by the zombie, and unfortunately, Dr. Kelson does die. But that was his whole thing, right? Like the memento mori, like everybody dies eventually sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting because I think Samson is going to have to carry on Dr. Kelson's work and figure out exactly how to cure the virus now himself. And he's going to be the new owner of the Bone Temple. That's just what I'm guessing is going to happen. It just kind of would make sense that that's what's going to take place. I guess we'll see. But yeah, that Iron Maiden scene at the end where he like throws the hallucinogens into their face, and Jimmy's picturing Samson as Satan was just sort of a very crazy thing to see. Like the visual effects for that scene were absolutely insane. And then, of course, again, like I said, at the very end of the movie, we get Jim come coming back with his, I believe, what is his daughter, and then Spike and I believe the one Jimmy's name that survived, right, was Jimmy Inc. and her actual name was Kelly, I think. Forgive me if that's wrong, but I believe that's what she said. So there's kind of like the possibility that they're gonna end up like Spike and her are gonna end up together. Because I'm not really sure what the age difference is, but it looks like they're both pretty young. So I think there's a possibility of that blossoming blossoming into a romance. I don't know, maybe. That's just kind of what I got at the very end when they were walking away together. I was like, it seems like they're kind of hinting at that slightly. Maybe not, but I feel like they might be a little bit because they were kind of close to the entire film, and she vouched for him quite a bit and covered a lot of stuff up that he was doing. So I feel like she was definitely kind of maybe possibly interested in him, and she didn't really agree with maybe what was going on inside the group. So I can understand that. But yeah, this was a phenomenal film from beginning to end. Great directing. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe I should have written down the name of the director of this film, but I forgot. I feel like she will probably direct the next one, and then Danny Boyle might direct the last one. I feel like that's just fitting, because obviously Danny Boyle directed the first two, um, and then he directed the third one to bring it back, and then he let her direct the fourth one. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like in this section she would direct the fifth one, and then he would direct the final act. It would just be that would just be the way I would work it out. Now maybe they'll switch back and forth. I don't know, but I feel like that's probably how it will go, because I feel like the final film is just going to be an absolute bloodbath between humans and the infected, or maybe they'll find a cure finally and everything will go back to normal. Wouldn't that be an interesting thought? To see that, or just an all-out war. I'm not sure. Either way, I think it will be an epic ending to this franchise for sure. But that's all for now. Sorry, I screwed up the names, and I guess I forgot to write down one of them, but it is what it is. uh, just yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know why I wrote that down so weirdly, but anyhow, I guess I must have been thinking about something else when I was writing the names and just skipped one by accident. It is what it is. Um, I still had all the names right anyway, minus the real person's name and the actual character, but oh god, I can't believe I screwed that up. But anyhow, I'm rambling on too much here at the end. I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.